Hey, welcome guys, it's Mr. Sheeline here. Okay, so now we are going to go through and start making a bar graph. Now we pretty much have already done this in the notes, so this won't be terribly different than what you've already practiced, just the other day. Okay, but it's still good to, all this practice is still good, because maybe there was something I didn't mention the other day, maybe there was something I didn't mention in the notes, and here, I'll mention something that I missed. So let's first take a look at the data that we're going to be covering. Okay, so here's what we're going to be covering. So, user provided, or well, the whatchamadoodles, the directions are the same as last time, but so you are still super curious about those deer. So this is the same bar graph, or for the most part, it's the same question that we had the other day. It's just now the data is going to be different. If you've already read through this, you notice that the numbers are a bit they're different than the other day. So you're still super curious about the number of deer coming to your park each month. You produce a test to count the number of deer every Wednesday for a month and then find the average number of deer seen. You log your data and this is what you find. So in September we saw 42, in October we saw 31, in November we saw 6, December we saw 19, February we had 2, January had 2, February had 26, March had 20. So we're going to take this data and we're, like you already know, we're going to make this into a data table. But first, let's answer these questions right here. So what is the independent variable in this test? So in this test, our independent variable, if you've already answered this, awesome. But if you haven't, let's pause the video and then we'll check out what you get. Okay, so for the answer here for the independent variable, of course, again, like we've already talked about with this kind of example, time's going to go on no matter what. And on top of that, we're the ones choosing the time that we're going to go look. We're not choosing the number of deer we're seeing. We're trying to see if the times, the days, and the months have an impact on the number of deer seen. So the independent variable, not the independent variable, but the manipulated variable, my bad, that should say manipulated variable, that is going to be the, let's see, I've already lost my train of thought. It's going to be time, but more specifically time in months. Okay. All right. So then let's answer number 2. What is the dependent variable? Okay, so if you've already answered this, awesome. If you haven't, let's pause the video and try to see if you can come up with the correct answer. All right, so the dependent variable here, well, because we know months is the independent variable, or it's the manipulated variable, the dependent variable, the responding variable, has to be pretty much the only other variable in here, which isn't the Wednesdays. It's going to be the number of deer seen, right? And again, we should know this. We should remember this from the other day. Okay, so let's do average. Average number of deer. Oh my goodness, I can't spell. Average number of deer seen. Or just average amount of deer seen, whatever works. Or average just number of deer. Whatever works for you. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's start creating a data table. Okay. Let's go ahead and make a data table. So just like last time, we're going to make our data table up here in the top right hand corner, and we're going to make it up there. So let's see here. And then on top of that here, just give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab my mouse. You just give me a second here. So I'm going to try to save your ears, and instead of manually moving the camera, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on a particular spot instead. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, let's see. Yeah. Okay. So, looking up here, okay, let's make our data table. So, just like last time, we went 3 per column. Just because I know that the name's going to be a little longer this time, let's go 4 per column. So we're going to use the outside edge here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, and then we count here 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. Okay, so there are the columns we're going to use for our data. Okay, and then plus months is a little longer. Okay, so let's do this. Let's put in months over here because we know that the independent variable, the manipulated variable, is going to go in here. It's going to go to the left, while the responding variable is going to go to the right. Okay, so over here we're going to squeeze in here average number sign of deer. Okay. All right. And then let's just start filling in the months. Well, here we can do this. Well, we know this is going to be September. We know that this is going to be October. This is going to be November, December, January, February, and also then March. And I put the first letters in just so I can see how far down I've got to draw my lines here. Okay. Making this look all nice and neat, all nice and tidy, looking real fine. That was kind of weird. Okay. Okay, so we did that. Now let's just fill this in. So September, October, November, December, January, February. It's weird how we pronounce it. Doesn't really match up with how we spell it. And then March. Okay. And then in September, remember we saw 42 deer. In October we saw 31. In November we had 6. December we saw 19. January we saw 2. February we saw 26, and March we saw 20. Okay, so let's just dress this up again. Oh, where's my pen line there? All right, just one more. Nice. All right, and then the last thing we need to put on our data table here is we need to now put our title. So I don't remember exactly the title name that we came up with in class, and I know some classes had different names. Let's see, what could we come up with? Oh shoot, we could come up with something like, probably, I'm sure this is what we had in whatever class you're in with me. Maybe this is the same title we had, but let's go with like average number of deer seen between September and March. Ooh, we're running out of space there, but that's fine. At least while we're practicing, it's okay. It's not something you want to do every time, but you know, it ain't the end of the world. Again, in this case. Okay. Alright, cool. So we've got our data table. Nice. Okay. So now let's start putting this together and making a graph out of it. Okay. All right. So So we've got all of our data, so now let's just start making our data. So remember, we got to figure out what our lowest value is, which is going to be this 2. It looks like our lowest is 2, while our highest is going to be 42. Now, I have not made this prior to this, so bear with me. There might be some things I might go back and fix while we're making the graph, and I've got my whiteout stuff handy in that case. So at this point, if you've gotten this far with the pen, maybe it's a good idea to now switch to a pencil, just in case I make a mistake and I've got to go back and remake something. So, okay, and I don't want you to have to waste a good piece of graphing paper because of me. Okay, so if you need a pencil, go pause the video, go grab a pencil, and then come right back. Okay, but if you already have a pencil, or if you're fine with using a pen, let's just keep going. Okay, so because our lowest value is 2, our highest value is 42, and we can also see like the different values. We can get an idea of like, you know, could we jump by 2s? Should we go 1 to 42? Should we go 10s? What should we go every, I don't know, should we go every 6? Should each little cell here count as 6? Okay, choice is up to you. But if we go by 2s, 42 divided by 2 is going to be 21. So we would need 22. We'd have to count 22 lines if we wanted to do that. Well, what's 21 divided by 2? Well, 21 divided by 2 is going to be 10.5. Okay, so 21 divided by 2 is 10.5, and so we could count, 10 and a half we could count, 11 and a half lines. Again, the choice is up to you. Now, 42, remember, 42 is divisible by 6. So if it's divisible by 6, it's also divisible by 3. So maybe we should go by 3. So how about we do that? Let's go for every line is going to be a unit of 3. Okay. So let's and instead of stopping at 42, because this is a bar graph, we do want to leave some headspace. We don't want our bar graph to reach all the way up to the tippy top of our graph. Let's leave a little bit of space. Let's leave a little bit of space for putting in the value on our graph, or just space so it looks a little nicer. So let's actually just bump it up to 1 more, or maybe let's go maybe 2 more. So let's start. Our max range for our, and here I'll close up on the y-axis here. So our max range here, we're going to end at 48. But so since we're going to end at 48 all the way up here, let's just count down. So here is going to be 45. This is going to be 42, 39, 36, 33, 30. Now, just so you know, you don't have to. I'm going to do every single dash here, and I'm going to keep going down until I hit 0. You don't have to. If you really, really wanted to, you could skip. You can go every other, so you could potentially not have 45, not have 39, not have 33. So you could go every other. Again, it depends on how you want to make the graph. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it this way. I'm just going to continue to put numbers on each little hash here. Okay, so then 24, 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, and 0. Okay. So again, I decided to go with each hash mark equaling to 3 units, because my highest value is 42. 42 is divisible. I know off the top of my head, 42 is 6 times 7, which would mean that it's 14 times 3. So it is just easier to think of it in that way. Take your highest value, divide it, or try to find out what's divisible by, and then whatever it's divisible by, maybe choose the best option that has a decent range, that isn't too short, that isn't too long, and that pretty much will be relatively easy to plot. So yeah, we got that. Let's now dress up our line. Okay, so nice black line here. Now let's get the name over here. So because this is going to be our, sorry, just lost my train of thought. Since this is going to be our dependent variable, our responding variable, we're going to use the header that we put over on our data table. So it'll be just the average number of deer. Okay. Perfect. So y-axis is done. Now let's take a look here at our x-axis. Okay. Now the x-axis is going to be a little easier, just because we're working with words, and we've already worked with words before in the previous bar graph example. So here's what we're going to do. But just like last time, we're going to take up 2 spaces. But instead of having just a single cell between, let's go with 2 cells between. So we're going to count 1. We're going to go 1, 2, and then 1, 2, and then this is where we're going to start with September. We want to leave a gap here. Typically, you want to leave a little gap, because having a bar like sitting against your y-axis, it's not that you can't do it. I know personally for myself, it just doesn't look as pleasing, and I don't like it. It can sometimes make it more difficult to know exactly, what the values are over here, because I've seen some individuals' submissions before in the past where, if they're coloring with like dark colors, they may accidentally their marker might go over and smudge all over the values over here, and then you can't read them. So to prevent that, it's like you might as well, give it just a single cell or 2 cells away, just so you've got good enough clearance. Okay. So, but in between these 2 hash marks, that's what we're going to start. Where we're going to start with September. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to start with September. Okay. And then we're going to count 1, 2, 1, 2. And let's see how well that's going to look. So we're going to have October there, November, December. See, I've already made a mistake. And that mistake was that my spacing, I didn't check out my spacing well enough. And if I would have kept this pattern going, I would have bumped and hit the data table here. So maybe we can't go every 2. So again, see, this is why I told you get a pencil earlier, so you can erase this early. Okay. All right. So let's try that again. So let's actually go. Here, I'm just filling back in my red lines here. Just so I could see them. Okay. Got a little smudging. That's fine. Okay, so let's just go do what we did last time. We're going to actually go, we're going to leave a single space between, but we're still going to go with two cells for our column. So here's September. So then 1, 2. Oop, no, because it's just here. I have October here. Sorry if this looks a little messy now. It's 1, 2. And then this is going to be November. December. January. Oh boy. Just barely out of the way. February. And then March. Okay. All right. And then we got to give a label here. We're going to give it the label of just months because that's what we have again up here in our data table. Okay. Let's dress her up. Boom. Okay. Now we got to figure out. Which values are going to go up to which point on the y-axis. So September we saw 42, so we're going to find out where 42 is over here on our y-axis. And since 42, well, look at that, because it's our highest value here, and it's the one that we chose, it'll be pretty easy to find. So we're going to come straight up to here. We're going to put our marks where we're going to make our bars. Okay. And then once we know we got our ruler, we're just going to then ease our pens or pencils down, outlining that bar there, making it look nice and sharp. And we're going to move on to October. And October had 31. Okay. So I'm going to follow the line here. I'm going to follow it up to where I'm going to eyeball where 31 should be, which is about right there. And then I'm going to trace my lines, and I'm going to repeat this for all of my bars here. So if you want to skip ahead to the point in which I've got all these bars ready to go, go for it. If you want to keep going with me, that's cool too. Okay, here's 6. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, like, I did not actually plan on like these numbers kind of nicely lining up so far with you know, with like 6 and 3. I came up with these new numbers all at random, so it's actually kind of cool. These are working out pretty good. Okay, 18 and then 19 should be about right there. January had just 2. February had 26. Okay. And then March had 20. And then we have our bars. So again, just like in the video the other day, now what we can do, we can grab a colored pencil, we can grab a marker, whatever we want to do. I'm going to use this pink highlighter, and then we can color in these lines. And remember, it's always nice to put in color, and you get to see it in real time here. It's nice to see color, just because color, like you saw and like what you should have made a couple days ago, like color just makes it stand out so much more. And it's just easier to read. It's more appealing to look at, and it just sets it apart. Especially if you've got a whole bunch of different variables that you are having to put in your graph, having each be a different color, having to use different colors. It actually can make it look pretty cool, almost like art. There's a Reddit. I follow a Reddit page, or a subreddit, I should say. I follow a subreddit that's called Data is Beautiful. And for the most part, all it is just people who find something that's interesting in their life or find something that's worth recording, and they record their data, and then they try to come up with a really interesting way to produce a graph, pretty much. That's all they do. And there are some that where they pretty much make like a picture. There was one that I saw that maybe I'll have to show you guys. Maybe I'll post it on the weekend if I can remember. But there's one where a guy made a whole picture, like it was like a scenery photo, or it's not photo, but scenery illustration with mountains and and there was like creatures in it, and how they represented the data was like, and I don't remember what they were representing specifically, but there were like ridges that would represent like an actual like amount. It was a filled in, or sorry, it was a shaded line graph is what it was. And I'll show you an example of what they were making after I finish this. So we should probably finish this because we only have like maybe 1 or 2 things left. So again, like last time, if you want to, you can do this. You don't have to, because we've got the data table right here. We don't necessarily have to put the values because it should be obvious to whoever's reading this what each of these values are. But let's say they're separate and you really want people to know what the values are for each of your bars. Remember, you can just put like a dot at the top and then just write down, you know, the value of these bars. So we can just do that real quick, okay? Because it can make it just easier for the reader to better understand the values and know what's going on and have a better sense of how you constructed your graph and the differences between the numbers, the differences between the values that you recorded. Okay, so then the last thing here, all that we need left now, or that's all that's left here, is we need a title. And we're just going to rip the title that we had over here. And so we'll have average number of deer seen between September and March. Boom. And there's our title. Okay. And that's our bar graph. Okay. So for the most part, if you guys wanted to take off, that's fine. If you want to stay just for a little bit longer, I'm going to show you, just give a quick sketch of what that graph I was mentioning, the illustration graph. I'll show you a quick sketch of that. But if you're going to take off, that's fine. See you guys. Okay. But if you're going to stay here, let's see, where can I, maybe I can draw it on here because I don't want to ruin my graph here. So just real quick, only just another couple seconds. So the way the graphs look is like this. So it'd be like, here's like a mountain, there's like a little valley here, and then they would just put in trees, like they put in pine trees over here, and then they would put like a bear. So they'd have a bear over here, like just kind of, it would be like a silhouette of a bear kind of doing his thing. And they'd have trees, out in the distance and all this cool stuff. And there'd be like this big old sun and a sunset. And then there'd be like layers of different, different lines here. And basically what it showed was like, and these would be like filled in too. So they'd be like different colors. And it was really cool because they would keep the same like palette, the same color palette, to make it look like an image, to make it look like, the sun was putting a shadow on these like different hills. But these hills represented, this was the data. It was like in the hills. It was a filled in line graph to show, the change over a particular time of whatever they were measuring. And again, I've got to find it. It's really, really cool. It might have been something about erosion. I don't remember. But anyway, so again, this was just something I saw from the subreddit I follow called Data is Beautiful, and it's pretty cool. But anyway, that's enough of that for today. So thank you guys. Remember, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can, just so you know when I'm posting new videos, whether you're in physical science, if you're in chemistry and physics, if that's something you want to do, go for it. If not, that's fine. If you have any questions, let me know. Send me an email, shoot me a text over Remind, put in a private comment on Google Classroom, whatever it is you have to do it. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And that is it for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.